Hey, how's it going? This is Blue over at youcanblue.com, and today I'm going to be looking at Quixel Megascans. Now, it's kind of hard to look at Quixel Megascans on its own. Okay, this is the website, Quixel Megascans, but I think really, properly, in order to be able to use this, you're going to be using a combination of things. So it's impossible for me to kind of show you around Quixel Megascans without doing a few other things first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit up 3ds Max, because I'm going to be working in Quixel Megascans in a 3 meter by 3 meter plane, so I kind of need one in order just to get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane, let's drag it out, and I'm going to make it 300 by 300 because we're using Unreal units. 3ds Max base units translates 1 unit equals 1 centimeter. Let me just check that we have units set up on here, because I'm just going to use generics. There we go. And I am going to use the move, and I'm going to move everything to 0, 0, 0. Okay. I don't really need to make the plane any more than 4x4, to be honest, because we're going to use the magic of Quixel in order to make things happen, and the magic of Unreal. Probably not really the magic of Max, because all we're doing is making a plane, and you can do that in anything. Okay, now I'm going to export this fellow. So, export. And I want to take it to... where should I put it? Okay, so I'm just going to put it in here, which is my Megascans folder. And I'm going to give it a name of floor. Okay, and it's 300 by 300, just so we know how big it is. Kind of useful. And just going to click save. And I don't really need to do anything from this, okay. Yeah, it's converted to an editable poly, because I forgot to turn it from being a plane. That's it. Okay, now if I go over here, okay, we can see I've got my good old Unreal Engine here. Okay, just a simple plain Jane scene, and I'm going to take out a lot of the crap in this level. Go on, out you get, and including the words third and person. I think we kind of get the point, and a spinning question mark. And what I want to do instead is I'm going to move my content browser down to here. I know we get a lot less map, but I don't care. And I'm going to just have a quick look at content. There we go, right click, and I'm going to make myself a new folder, and I'm going to call this Megascans 1, because this is kind of the thing I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to quickly click build, and just wait for it to finish. There we go. It's encoding the textures, and it's done. Okay, just get rid of the mess. Now, if I go to my Megascans 1, I am going to import, okay, and then in my import folder I want to go to the file that I just exported from Max. Okay, so there it is. Go to my Megascans 1, grab my FBX, and just import. Click save. It's got no texture on it. And now if I just drag it out here, okay, there we go. You can see where it is. Just a little dude here can kind of see this wonderful and exciting piece of floor that we've created. Okay, now I want to make this an interesting looking floor using this, which is Megascans Studio. Now remember, I was talking about Megascans.se, so in order for this to work you'll need to have an account at Megascans.se. If you're already a Quixel Studio owner, then I believe you're eligible for 40 or 50 free points, which I was most delighted to get, to be quite honest. And I've downloaded a few surfaces over here. Okay, I was working on one earlier and it's auto-saved it. Auto-save, fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my new project Megascans _1, because I know what it is. Ground size is 3 meter by 3 meter, and I'm using a PBR workflow of metalness. Now we've got a choice of specular or metalness, because I'm using a game engine. I'm going with metalness. I'm just clicking OK. There we go, and this gives us this plane. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of looking at this as logically as I can. Okay, I want to build a nice, interesting and detailed ground layer, so I'm going to start with what all ground layers start with, which is mud. So let's go and find ourselves a nice layer of mud. I've downloaded a few already, but I quite like maybe that one. Yeah, it's a bit chunky. I like it. See? like so. Okay, so have a good look at that and pull out. Nice. Now, I want a bit more shape and definition to this, so what I'm going to do is, I've got height here, and that allows me to literally do what you're seeing there, i.e. drive some height. Now you'll notice when I do my height, okay, it tends to smooth it off here on the sides. I could also add in a bit of plateauing if I wanted to, and you'll notice that we start getting detail back on the top when I plateau. It's useful for some things, but I don't really want that much kind of depth at the moment, okay? The frequency seems okay though, so I'm going to just drop that down a teeny bit, and we've got all sorts of spaces now for interesting things to gather on. Okay, so mud. What am I going to do next? Well, I am going to add maybe a little bit of just dirt to our mud here and rock. So I'll click on that. Okay, and this is soil dirty. Now you'll see it's flat, okay? If I up or down the threshold, it basically comes in like a wall of crap. So I can use my underlying height blend and make it kind of conform a bit to the surface, okay? What I can also do is add a little bit like so of just extra noise to that. Okay, so we start to get this, and I'm just going to bring my threshold down a bit. I just like the idea that this dried kind of earth is peeking out from between these. We still don't have any grass on this yet. So another thing I can do as well, if I'm a bit worried about, you know, things repeating a bit too much, is I can just slide my texture a little bit. There we go, just to change it. Okay, now I'm going to start adding a little bit of grass. Now, I want some nice grass on the bottom and then a bit more rough grass on the top. So I'm going to start with this one. And again, remember, we're going to want to use our underlying height blend on this as much as possible. Then we're going to raise the intensity and the frequency just a little bit, not too much. Okay, and you'll see that we start getting kind of this grass come in. Okay, like a moss really, and we can move that down a bit more there. We can kind of raise its threshold up so we can have it cover more, cover less. I'm going to have it cover less, and then I'm going to add a new layer of grass, just maybe slightly rougher looking grass like that. And for this one, I'm going to have it masked from above, and I'm going to use my underlying again, and then drop my threshold. And that way this rougher grass is only starting to appear as much on the top. See? Like that. Okay, so we're up to 4 layers and it's still working okay. Things are going nicely. Now if we go over here, we can have a look and we can see things like our roughness maps and gloss maps and all this sort of thing. Now an interesting thing we can do, incidentally, I saw a fascinating tutorial on this yesterday, is that you could use, for example, your cavity map as a way of kind of plotting out and starting to build cracked snow, which I thought was fantastic. Another thing I can do as well is I can do that and we can get kind of a much bigger idea of what this ground plane is going to look like. Obviously you'll notice we get a bit of repeat, but not as much as you would think, simply because of the way that we're kind of building on top of, building on top of, building on top of. Okay, so you can see how this starts to come together. Okay, now next I'm going to add a small layer of stones. Now we've got all sorts of stones here, and I'm going to use these ones, which looks like too many stones. Okay, this looks like, I don't know, maybe you've been to the beach in the south of England or something like that. And what I'm going to do again is I'm going to use a height blend for the underlying, just so that it conforms a bit more. Then I'm going to drop my threshold a bit so that we don't have as many stones peeking through. Okay. Then I'm going to add some larger stones. So for that I'm going to come down here, maybe add these. And again I'm going to use my underlying for my height blend. I don't want anywhere near as many of these. There we go, so you can see they're kind of embedded in the ground, ready to really hurt the hell out of your feet when you walk on top of it. Ooh. Okay, and now I want to add different coloured stone, and so I've got this, which I think is lovely. This is listed under other, and it's kind of like a shale. So again, I'll use my underlying blend for that. Just drag it right up. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just increase my hout noise a little bit and my frequency. And maybe drop that down a bit. It looks like we've got kind of strata of rock running through underneath this, which I quite like. I think I'll drop my threshold just a little bit, maybe not that much, a little bit more. You have to understand, obviously, it's starting to chug a bit. I've got 5 very powerful applications now running at the same time, but I'm still getting quite a nice smooth run on this, so I'm quite happy. Okay, and then I think the last thing I want to do is just pool a little bit of water on it. So if I go over here just to my water setting, and you can see what a difference that makes. Absolutely lovely. I'm just going to bring it down just a little so that we've just got these teeny little pools there. There we go. And I can just up the threshold on the moistness to make the rocks a teeny bit more shiny. There we are. And I think that is going to do me nicely. Okay, so I'm going to save it. So, save. And I can save it as a surface to use later if I want to. So for example, I call this Megascans, and it would be rock really. And then I can put in tags if I want to. Save. And this will export it so that next time I could just drag this in and make adjustments to it. And it's a non-destructive workflow, so I can work underneath, or I could remove an entire layer and it will still work absolutely fine. Now, I've said before, I think it's a damn shame that so far we don't have the ability to, do walls and things with this. It's just floor. If I was being rude, I'd say, at the minute this is Floor Maker Deluxe, because that's what we're making a lot of. Or Grab Maker Deluxe anyway. But, that's just being pissy really. I'm pretty sure they're going to add in that functionality very soon. In the meantime, under Maps, I'm going to load my default for metalness, okay? And I'm going to tick metalness and gloss as well. And then I'm going to export them. And this will export them to d::megascans to_ground01. So I should probably just make a note of that. There we go, and I have. And then I'm going to close down Megascans and go back to Unreal Engine. Okay, so here I am back at the folder inside of Unreal Engine. Sorry if I'm ducking around things, but I don't think you want to watch me like rooting around in my various hard disk drives trying to find things. And this is what I want. Okay, obviously it's got the name Megascans 1 and then the various map names written down here. Metalness, AO, displacement, normal, cavity, gloss, roughness, and albedo. I may not use all of them, but I'm going to drag them in anyway for the minute. And these are some big ass textures going on. Now what we could also do is we could start combining our textures. So for example, if we had an YGB map, we could put different channels. For example, we could put our cavity into one channel, our AO into one channel, and so on. So there's different ways of doing it. I'm not going to be doing this in any form of a difficult or complicated way. I'm just literally going to be using these maps and plugging them into a material just to kind of show you what I'm doing, okay? So let's just import them in. Yeah, go on, what the heck. I'm not sure where they've gone anyway. They have not appeared yet. Okay, so there they are, and I'm going to just Control and S. There we go. Let's get it saved. Ooh, all saved. Okay, and now I can use these. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to right click, do a material, and my material is going to be called Megascans 1. And then 300x300. So I know what it is. And then I'll open it up. There she blows. And because I've got my browser on the bottom there, I'm going to have to obviously move this up a teeny weeny bit, just so I can see what I'm doing. And this is really basic stuff here, so I'm going to grab my albedo. There it is. And I'm going to wire my albedo into the base color. And I'm going to set my ambient occlusion. I'm going to wire my ambient occlusion over here. Now obviously if I'm putting these maps into different channels, so I've got kind of one texture coming in with 3 channels on, it's going to save me quite a lot of memory. But we'll come to that soon. Now I'm going to put my displacement down here, and I'm going to bring my glossiness and my metalness up to here. You may notice my metalness is a uniform shade of black. So now metallic. And then this fella here, which is my glossiness, I'll stick in roughness. Everything's shiny at the moment. Oh no, sorry, I'm going to stick it into my, god damn it, specular, not my roughness. And now I'm going to pick up my normal map. I know I've stuck it into both, I'll fix it in a moment. Stick that in normal. And I'm not putting any multipliers in just to affect this, I'm just literally plugging them in as they come, just to show you kind of the simple results that we can get with this. Okay, plug the roughness into roughness. Okay, so we've got quite a nice thing going on. You can see where the water is and see where our chunky parts are and all that kind of business, so that's good. So next I'm going to use this just here, and I'm going to build myself tessellation. So I'll just click on my material and drag down, and when I get to tessellation I'm going to just do we'll just have simple tessellation for the moment. Okay, nothing overly exciting. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my vertex normal WS just here. Okay, and then I'm going to click 1, hold 1 and click, and that will give me my expression constant here. And then I'm going to put M and click, and that will be a multiply. And then another one just there. Okay, and I'm going to run this into here, this into here, this into here, this into here. Then over here I'll start with 32, and I'm going to do another one just here. Okay, and this will cover our tessellation. So this is going to be our tessellation multiplier, and this will be our displacement. So for our tessellation multiplier, maybe 64. And the good thing is that we could set this up so that we could have, you know, an instance material where we could change all the settings and have all sorts of fun different things going on all sorts of different ones based on the one material. I'm not going to at the moment, but it's ridiculously easy. Okay, give this a chance just to calculate, and oh, there we go. Look how incredibly rough and lumpy that is. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and change that to about 16. Nice, and click save. Wait for it to finish what it's doing. It'll take a minute. It's not just quite a complicated piece of ground. It is a complicated piece of ground when it comes down to it. Okay, so we've got our lovely little boxy thing there, and I'm just going to quickly mess around with this shape. Border it on the back here, so we've got a piece of contrast. There we go. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this into the material slot like that, and I can see that it's probably a little bit too small. I think it's scaled it a little bit wrong. Scale up just a teeny bit, and drag this part which I've left underneath out of the way. Root it away. Remember a Dutch cyclist shouting that at me once? Mind you, I was totally in his way, so that's probably why. Okay, so we have now this, and we can just do a quick build just to get the lighting in. There we go. So now if I just have a quick look, I know there's no collision set for it, but you're kind of getting the idea. I know this isn't the highest resolution I've got set either, but as you can see we've got all our displacement and our chunky bits and our water, which is, as you can see there, glistening rather nicely actually. I mean, I know, as you can see, we've got quite a bit of collision going on, but that's not really an issue. And of course it's tileable, So I can, stick 4 together, should I so desire. Or I could just apply it to a UV'd floor and set it to tile. There we go. Ignore that, we do have some Z fighting because of the nature of the tessellation. If you continue to get that, we can change our tessellation options. Change it to crack-free displacement as well. Save. There we go. The best way of using this is always going to be, applying it to a large mesh as a tileable texture. So I'll just let this save again. So if I come back in here, I'll just kind of demonstrate that. I'll delete this. And I could literally just drag it to this floor actually. There you go. And you can kind of see, even stretched as it is, the kind of level of detail you're getting with this. This isn't even tiled. So all I'd have to do is then come into my actual material here, and I can stick myself in, some UV tiling. I put UV tiling on this just to actually tile it on that kind of material, and I could make that adjustable again as an instance material. So you can kind of see some of the fun things that we've got all ready to play with. Or I can just make the entire thing smaller, I suppose. See? But you can see how effective and how detailed it gives us for a ground now compared to kind of what we've probably been dealing with in the past. In the past, to get this kind of level of detail for a ground, it's either been a case of building it and designing it entirely, using lots and lots of layers of Photoshop and lots of like gnarly references, or throwing ourselves up a landscape and then throwing this on top of the landscape and kind of hoping for the best. Well, not throwing this, but building ourselves a landscape and using things like slopes and angles to determine which materials are being placed, which isn't optimal because the amount of processing that we're doing for that compared to the amount of processing that we're doing for, obviously this kind of static texture. Well, anyway, you're probably asking my opinion. Well, hopefully you're asking my opinion on what I think of Megascans, and I think Megascans is absolutely goddamn amazing. I'm colourblind, and the ability for me to be able to kind of build this kind of thing is way beyond my remit, because I can't get the colour balances quite right, and I have to get someone else to come and help in with that. But because we're using real-world scans, and because of the way the program works, it means that I'm able to get this, and it looks just spot on. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look, you've even got the reflections. You can see the different textures of the different rocks, and you can see how it blends together. It's fantastically useful, and I think, to be honest, it's probably an essential part of most anyone who's doing outdoor work in Unreal Engine, and in fact anyone who's doing indoor work in Unreal Engine. I've done dungeon floors with this that literally took me minutes to make. So I think when it comes down to it, apart from the fact that at the minute in the preview system I can't build walls or ceilings, I can only do floors, that's just a small price to pay for what is essentially a fantastic piece of kit. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting and informative. You'll find more interesting and informative stuff on UCAN Blue, so pop on by. In the meantime, bye bye.